Hello, Ian Anderson Gray here.
Hello.
Hello, Janet. It's great to have you here. This is episode 52 of the Confident Live Marketing Podcast and Show. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to move your business online with confidence. And I'm very glad that you're here, Janet, because this is something you've been helping a lot of people with businesses all around the UK and around the world with, which is a big problem at the moment. Obviously, with the coronavirus, a lot of businesses are having to radically change the way they're working. So this is episode 52. The show notes will be at iag.me/52 when this episode comes out. And I'd also love to know if you're watching the replay, just put hashtag replay in the comments, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Periscope. It would be great to know that. And also where in the world you're watching from. So where are you dialing in from, Janet?
So I'm in Kent in the UK, so I'm just outside London. It's really lovely and sunny. Very British of me to talk about the weather, but it is lovely and sunny and warm at the moment. And we can't go anywhere, which is a bit rubbish.
Yeah, it is a bit, but yeah, it does make a big difference when it's a nice day and you can at least enjoy a bit of sunshine. I was working a bit in the garden this morning, which was nice. So that's always a good thing. So yeah, it's a bit of a mad time at the moment. How are things for you working from home?
Well, I've worked at home for the best part of 20 years, so nothing's really changed apart from the fact I'm working longer hours than before. And I worked hard before, but everybody wants to get online. So everybody's now realizing that the only way to do business at the moment is online. So I've kind of been busier than ever because that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years, is helping people build online audiences and engagement and getting their stuff online. So I've just never been so busy. A little bit sleeps in a little bit of short supply at the moment, I think.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like you, I've been working at home for probably most of my adult life, and yeah, this is the time when I'm inundated with questions. You know, how do we use technologies like Zoom? How do I get my business online? How do I use live video? You know, a lot of people have been actually putting it off for a long time, thinking, "Oh, I'll get round to it." And of course, now you have to, don't you? So it's definitely now is the time. So yeah. So I hopefully at some point you'll get some sleep, because sleep is always good. But it's a very busy time for a lot of us at the moment. What are you finding is what kind of questions are you getting a lot from your audience at the moment?
I think everybody just wants to know how they can get what they're doing in person or offline and put it online. But I think the challenge people are coming up against, so they want to know how to do, I've done quite a few masterclasses, paid masterclasses over the last few weeks, and how to do webinars and online masterclasses, how to launch digital downloads, playbooks. Got one I'm doing next week, which is how to generate passive income. And I think that people can generally get that if they've been teaching or coaching or consulting in something. The content's not normally a problem. The two problems they have is what we solve. So is the tech, like how do I actually organize the tech? But the second part, and I think, you know, this is the thing I've probably been banging on about for years, is the audience, because it's all very well saying you're going to do a webinar and it's great and you've got the knowledge and the expertise and if you can work out the tech. But if you don't have an engaged social media following, if you don't have fans of your blog or your Facebook lives or your YouTube channel, whatever it is that you do, and crucially, if you don't have an email list, then it becomes very hard to sell what you do and promote what you do. And I think most people are really unaware how big your audience needs to be to make those kind of sales. So I'm just saying to people, like, now is the time to do it. Like, there's no, oh, I think I'll do that in a few months down the line. I like to think that this has actually proved that this is work that needs to be done today, and it needs to be ongoing work, and it needs to be something that you pay attention to every single day. It's not something that we can put off anymore.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, in a way, this is the big kick at the bum that maybe a lot of us need. You know, I mean, I don't mean that in a horrible way, but you know, sometimes we can procrastinate, and I've certainly had a lot of my audience and clients that have been putting off live video, for example. I mean, obviously, I work a lot mainly with live video, and yeah. It's obviously it's time when people are having to embrace that now. But anyway, it's definitely time to get on with the main podcast. So if you're watching live, don't be shy. Let us know where in the world you're calling in from. If you've got any questions for Janet, just pop that in the comments. That'd be awesome. But we'll be with you just after this.
This is the Confident Live Marketing Podcast. Confident Live Marketing Podcast with Ian Anderson Gray, helping entrepreneurs level up their impact, authority and profits through the power of live video. Gain confidence in front of the camera, confidence with technology, and confidence with the content and marketing.
Together, we can go live!
Hello, Ian Anderson Gray here. This is episode 52 of the Confident Live Marketing Podcast. I'm really excited to be here. I've got Janet Murray, my special guest, on today. This is actually the second time she's been on the show, my first repeat guest. And I needed to get Janet on because she has been helping so many businesses all around the UK and around the world in helping moving their business online and particularly in growing their audience. So I can't wait for that. But first, it's definitely time to bring in my first sponsor, if I can find the button. Is this going to work? Come on. Oh dear, it's not going to work. That's great when technology doesn't work like that, is it? Let's just bring it back to here and I will do it this way. But I will talk about Restream. And Restream is one of these amazing tools that allows you to multicast to lots of different places. It allows you to broadcast to many places all at the same time. You could call it basically the complete multi-streaming suite for entrepreneurs. So with Restream, you can stream to multiple platforms all at the same time. And they have a plethora of destinations, including LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitch, Periscope, and so much more. In fact, I think there are over 30 destinations that you can stream to if you really want to. So in terms of like reaching your audience all on the different destinations, this will really help you do that. So you can use a different tool, such as it could be Ecom Live or Restream or OBS Studio or whatever. You can basically use that tool to stream to Restream, and then Restream will take care of that and broadcast that to all your destinations. Or you can broadcast directly directly from Restream, because they've just launched this. It's called the Restream Studio. It's a simple yet powerful live streaming solution which allows you to go live to all these different destinations directly from your browser. So it allows you to personalize your live stream with overlays and really get the branding nice. It allows you to add a call to action and other important messages. You can engage with your audience in real time and more. And the great thing is it allows you to see all the comments from all these different platforms. So starting from today, you can unlock all of the Restream premium features by upgrading to the professional plan with a 30% discount, which is awesome. As well as that, Restream has a chat analytics feature and a scheduler if you speak with my accent. With the chat feature, it also allows you to view and engage with your audience from all those destinations. So if you want to have a little play, I'm sorry I haven't got it up on the screen. I will sort out that for next time. But all you need to do is go to iag.me/restream. That's iag.me/restream. So I'm excited to have Janet Murray back on the show. Janet helps entrepreneurs, coaches, and creatives build and monetize their online audience. She's a podcaster, author, and speaker who has spoken all over the world about content strategy, marketing, and building online audiences. Janet is also the creator of the Media Diary, a content planning tool for coaches, consultants, experts, and entrepreneurs. Janet, it's great to have you on. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Apart from the tech being a little bit dubious today, it's all going well. But that happens, doesn't it?
For you, isn't it?
It is. It is. Even if you plan, and it sometimes goes a bit dodgy. So, yeah, it's great to have you back on the show. And how are things with you with the lockdown? Are you keeping your sanity?
Well, I'm struggling a little bit, I have to say, because I always considered myself to be quite an introverted person, which I think I am. I spend a lot of time on my own. I've worked on my own for like best part of 20 years at home, always been freelance. But actually, I really miss people. And I didn't think I would miss people as much as I do. But yeah, I just miss seeing people in person. Zoom is great, but I'm on Zoom all day anyway, like every week. And so I'm just missing real people, really. But, you know, it's got to be done, hasn't it? So can't really complain about it.
Yeah. And you know, I think for those of us who are using Zoom on a regular basis, we maybe take it for granted how amazing the technology is. It is great to keep in touch with friends and family and actually doing business. But we also need to have that balance, because if we're on Zoom all day, we need to have some unplugging time, unplug ourselves from the technology. But I think we need a bit of light relief. I didn't tell you about this, Janet, so I'm putting you on the spot here. But we're going to do a little quiz. And the good thing is, don't worry, there's no right or wrong answer. It's basically just to get to know you a little bit more. So, are you ready? Yeah. So, this is basically some very simple questions about what you like and what you don't like. So, here is the first question, which is, okay, so what is your favorite type of food?
Chocolate, I think.
Chocolate. Any particular type of chocolate?
Cheap chocolate I like. So don't ever buy me like really fancy. I don't know, what do you call it? You know, those like fancy chocolate shops like Cadbury's.
Hotel Chocolat.
Yeah, I mean, Hotel Chocolat is all right, but you know, like fancy. What do you call them? Those really kind of like really rich, expensive chocolate boxes.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, buy me Cadbury's. You know, I like Twixes, Twirls. You know, just basic stuff like that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, that's very good. Right. Well, next question is, I think I know the answer to this. Mac or PC?
Mac.
Another Mac user. We have had a few PC users, but it's mainly Mac, so that's fine. Okay, so next question is your favorite kind of music. If you had to choose one genre, what would it be?
Rap music would be, rap and hip hop would be my favorite.
Wow, I didn't expect that from you. That's interesting. How long have you been into that for?
Always, since
Really?
I was a kid. I mean, I do like quite a variety of music.
Yeah.
I like. I'm more to the sort of like dance, hip hop, that sort of music. I do like sort of indie music. I like classical music. I like folk music. I like anything really. The only thing I don't really like is kind of like proper heavy metal type thing.
Okay.
I'm not really into that. I mean, I just love music generally. But now I have a real thing for rap and hip hop, particularly 90s rap and hip hop. That's what you'll hear me. If you see me driving around in my car, that'll be me. Yeah.
That's I didn't know that. That's cool. Excellent. Right. Well, next question is, if you had to choose between a Krispy Kreme donut and a banana, what would it be?
Krispy Kreme donut every time. I mean, who would choose a banana? Like
loads of people chose banana. You're actually one of the few that's chosen. So I'm glad we've got a bit of normality here. We brought that back. Oh, if you're listening to the podcast, you're missing Janet's facial expression there. It's just utter disbelief at that. But yeah, okay. I'm interested in the next question. Favorite kids TV program?
Probably Blue Peter. I think it's a little bit expected, I guess. But
No,
yeah, I do like a little bit of Blue Peter.
We've never had Blue Peter yet on the shows, so that's good. I mean, obviously, Blue Peter is a very British thing. It's BBC. It's still on, isn't it? I think it's still going.
I think so. Yeah. I like Roll and Rat as well. Do you remember Rat on the Road? You're about the same age as me, aren't you? Rat on the Road. I did like that. It's ITV, but I did like that as well.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like that. Yeah, no, that you get making me all nostalgic. Right. Well, you mentioned that one of the bits of music, genres of music that you liked was classical. So I'd be interested to know, what is your favorite classical composer?
I would say Bach, probably.
Oh, good choice. Bach's my favorite too. Yeah. If I could just choose Bach, I would just choose Bach. Obviously, I do like other music as well, but cool. Right. Final question is, what is your favorite app? Can only choose one.
I don't know. What app do I use? I don't know. I use so many. I'm going to have to look at my phone now and see what I use the most. I don't know.
Put you on the spot, haven't I?
Totally. I tell you what, I've got a photo editing app that I use to make myself look younger, which is Colour Story. I shouldn't really share that, should I? But
no, you should. That's good. It's always good to have those tips. Colour Story. I don't know. Have I got that? I'll check them out. It's always good to know.
10 years younger.
Okay, well, that's good. It's good. Like, you've probably checked out the Zoom has a touch up my appearance thing.
Which I use it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all do. Great, excellent. Well, I think we need to get on with the main subject. But I thought it was good to have a bit of light relief in this because you look at the news at the moment, and obviously if you're listening to the podcast or watching this in the future, we are in the midst of the worldwide pandemic with the COVID-19, and things are a little bit mad. The world is in lockdown, and obviously things will change. In the future, things will hopefully be a lot better. But at the moment, I think we can learn a lot from this because. So my first question to you, Janet, is it is a difficult time for many of us right now, and it's a difficult time for some businesses. But what advice would you give to, or what would you say to people at the moment who are struggling with the idea of actually promoting their business? They're thinking, at the moment it's a bit of a difficult time. Should I be promoting my business at the moment? What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I would say if you are able to do business and you're able to do so safely, you absolutely should be doing business. I think that we will have a responsibility as business owners to support each other, to continue buying and selling from each other if we can do safely. And you absolutely should be doing that. And I think it's not just about being good for your business, but it's good for the wider economy. And also, I think we have to think about what's going to happen when we come out of this. I mean, I'm not sure we're ever going to go back to completely normal. But I think when we go back to a version of normal, those people who've just downed tools and done nothing, well, it's just going to be like starting again, isn't it? So I think we have a responsibility. It's not even about what we choose. I think we should be doing it. If we can do business safely, then we absolutely should be doing it. And we should be looking at ways to innovate and look at ways that we can take things online, which we previously delivered in person.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I have seen a few business owners posting, online and saying that they feel uncomfortable with promoting their themselves or promoting their businesses and doing any Facebook ads. And maybe for some, I mean, I don't know about you, Janet, but I probably it took me 3 or 4 days. Once we realized we had to self-isolate and we had to stay at home and the kids were at home and there was so many things going through my brain, I just couldn't. I find it very difficult to focus on my business, and maybe we need to give some people time just to get their heads around it. But honestly, you're right. We need if we can run our businesses, if we can continue running our businesses, we should do that. But what would you say to people who are criticizing? If, for example, you're putting out an ad to promote your business, I don't know whether you've had any criticisms for you, aimed at you promoting your business. But what would you say to those criticisms of people saying you shouldn't be doing this right now?
Well, something I've noticed personally that those criticisms generally come from people who are on a full salary or a near full salary at home. Those of us who run businesses, it's our livelihood. And I run a limited company, so does my husband, which means that neither of us we're actually entitled to very little government support if we stop trading. So we don't really have any choice. We have to continue trading. So that's one thing. But the other thing that I would suggest to people, and this is exactly what I did, and I think I did it even without thinking because I'm from a media background, but I put out what I call a positioning statement. So as soon as I could see what was going on and I could see that potential for criticism, I emailed my list and I said, I'm going to continue selling to you, and these are the reasons why I'm going to continue selling to you. And I actually kind of said, if you don't like it, you can leave my list, and that's fine. You're welcome back at any time if you don't like it. If it's making you feel uncomfortable and you don't like it, that is no problem at all. You can leave my list and you can come back when you're ready. That's fine. But I am going to continue to sell to you. These are the reasons why. And so my reasons are, obviously, I really believe that we should continue to do business if we can do it safely. We should do. It's good for the health of our own business, but also good for the health of the wider economy, and also will help us to recover more quickly. But also, I've got loads of stuff that can really help people at the moment. So I've been running my business online for 5 years. I do what most people want to do at the moment. So I run a business from home where probably 80-90% of what I do happens from this spot that I'm in now. I sell online courses, I sell online classes, I have a membership site, I sell digital downloads, I have a physical product, and I do all of this online. So if I was to sort of not share that with people and not help people, all of those years of experience, I'd actually be doing them a disservice if I wasn't able. And my sales figures show that people want this. So I've done a couple of additional masterclasses One of them was about how to take your offline services and put them online. I've done another one about running your own masterclasses and webinars. I had another one that I was already doing anyway that was about creating a digital download and sending a digital download, a playbook. And this is what people want. And if I look at the figures, people are buying them. People don't buy stuff that they don't feel that they need. People don't, they're not being pressured into doing this. You're offering the opportunity and they're buying it. So I feel like I would be doing people a disservice. I've got all this experience. I've got all this knowledge. Now, if I was buying paracetamol and selling it for £10 a packet or something, that would be exploiting the situation. If I was buying up toilet rolls and then, selling them at twice the price and, from my back garden or something, that would be exploiting the situation. But actually continuing to run your business because you can do it safely is the right thing for the economy. And also, if you have got services, if you have got knowledge and skills that you can use to help people, you absolutely should be doing that.
Yeah, I couldn't put it in a better way. Yeah, absolutely, totally agree with you. And I think, as I said before, with crises like this that are affecting the whole world, we probably need to maybe spend a couple of days just getting our heads right, and managing everything. But yeah, if you can run your business, then, and you are out there to help people, which most of us are, if you're not exploiting the system, then absolutely we should be doing that. Dave Brown is here. Hi, Dave. Great to see you. He says, hello, my friends. And he also says, news just out, 98% or more of us will live through this. I think, it is a difficult time at the moment, but we need to stay strong and keep working on our businesses. So, not all businesses have obviously embraced the online world. And I think one of the things we talked about is actually a lot of people are suddenly realizing that maybe they haven't put as much into growing their online audience, or maybe they don't even have any kind of online presence. Well, what advice would you give to businesses who have a very limited online presence right now until recently, and they don't really have an audience online? They're bound to be overwhelmed right now with the idea of, you're going to probably tell them to grow an audience, get a mailing list, blog, video, podcast, it seems a lot. What advice would you give to those businesses right now?
Yeah, so first of all, I would say that it is a lot to think about, and don't try and do it all at once. So try and think about the way I encourage people to build audiences is to choose like one primary piece of content. So ideally that might be a blog, or a podcast, or a YouTube channel, or a Facebook Live. Facebook Live is often the easiest one for people to get onto, actually, because if you've got a Facebook page, they can just go live and they can start sharing content. And obviously, in an ideal world, we'd all be doing what you're doing here, Ian, and we'd be repurposing everything. But, just do what you can with what you have. So I would suggest one key piece of content which can kind of exist on your website, or can be sort of, which has got more shelf life to it than a social media post, if you like. So something that could be, reshared and reused time and time again. And then focus on one social media platform. So pick one social media platform where your ideal audience are hanging out, and really focus on growing an audience there. Because what you can learn from building, it's the same strategies. They're slightly different platforms, but same strategies cross-platform. So if you can really crack it on Facebook, or you can really, really crack it on Instagram, then once you've done that, you can take what you've learned and you can pretty much just replicate it with a few tweaks on another platform. But I would suggest that pick one sort of more permanent piece of content. So for most business owners, if you haven't been very active, Facebook Live or Instagram Live is usually the quickest thing, or IGTV, something that's really quick and easy, something that you can do on a phone, something that doesn't require any fancy kit or anything like that. I've seen some of my clients in the last few weeks have just done amazing things in terms of taking their businesses online. Pilates teachers, yoga teachers. I've got a lady who has been teaching people to bake hot cross buns. She used to do those in person. And they're just working with what they've got. So they're using things like Facebook Live. They're just using the camera on their PC, or they're using the camera on their phone, or on their whatever they've got, a tablet, whatever they've got. They're not worrying about fancy lighting or kit or whatever. Because that's people who are interested in the content. They're not interested in it being completely perfect. They're interested. And so I would really focus on showing up for your customers and clients. The worst thing you can do at the moment is just disappear and not post anything and not keep in touch with them. So that would be the key thing. So pick one piece of content which has got a longer shelf life, and one social media platform, and focus on growing those. That would be my starting point. I suspect you probably want to ask me a bit more about how you would actually go from there.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, it's so I think you're right in keeping it simple, just focusing on one platform first. And live video sounds like a really scary thing, doesn't it, Janet? I mean, it almost seems like that should be the last thing that you should embrace. Maybe somebody, maybe you would recommend that someone dabbles in a blog. But I think the thing about live video is it's immediate, isn't it? And it makes you accessible to your audience. And depending on where your audience is, I mean, obviously that's the other thing you've probably got to think about. Where are your customers hanging out? So that's maybe something to think about. Are they actually all on Instagram? So maybe focus on Instagram first. And of course, Instagram Live is a thing, and there's stories, but maybe they're on Facebook. And there are some tools out there. I totally agree with you that you keep things simple. You don't need to have a really professional kit or very complicated kit to begin with. Just use your phone. But actually, you could use tools like we've talked about Restream on the show. You can now actually just go load up Restream and actually broadcast to Facebook and YouTube at the same time through your computer. Or you could use StreamYard, and that it isn't as complicated as it sounds. And the great thing about that is it's not just the live part of it. It also lasts for a long time. It's the evergreen part, which is something to think about. So okay, so that's we talked about just slowly doing that. I mean, so would you say that, I mean, that's all very well, getting people to go on like sort of Facebook and post on Facebook, but is that actually going to grow your audience? I mean, I'm sure you've said this a lot, that we should be focusing on growing our email list. So how do we go about doing that? And particularly for businesses who have never done this before?
Okay, well, in an ideal world, what you want to do is get people to your website, because as we all know, social media, we don't own that. It could be taken away from us any minute. So Facebook could go down. Last year, Facebook and Instagram went down for, I think it was a couple of afternoons consecutively in 2 consecutive weeks. Everybody was panicking. A lot of businesses were panicking. I wasn't panicking because I've got an email list. So in an ideal world, what we want to do is we attract people to our website, and then we collect their email address so that we can keep in touch with them. So we create some kind of free resource. So it could be a free download. If you're a food business, it could be recipes. It could be a free video series. So just something of value that your audience want to get their hands on so much that they're prepared to give your email address. With a product-based business, it can just be a discount code or something like that. Or a 2-for-1 or something like that, some kind of offer. So that's the ultimate aim. The thing about it, though, is that in order to build your email list, if you don't have a social media following, if you haven't actually focused on building up a bit of a following on your Facebook page or on Instagram, it can be quite hard to get people on your list, especially if you can't go out and about and you can't actually go and meet people and talk to people. How do you get people on your list? So that's the way that I teach people to do it, is to build an audience on social media first, obviously being really aware of the fact that you don't own it and it can be taken away from you at any time. So, for example, I use my Facebook Messenger bot to collect people's email addresses, but that's quite an advanced strategy. And again, what we don't want to do if somebody hasn't been online is to overwhelm them with all different strategies. So the first thing you really need to work out, honestly, is content. Like, what kind of content is going to engage my audience and what's going to get them to talk back to me and have a conversation with me. So I did a live broadcast the other night to probably one of the hardest hit industries, and it was the hospitality industry. So people who own bed and breakfasts, Airbnbs, holiday lets, and they have just been, their business has just been obliterated. And we talked about the kind of content that they could create just to kind of keep their audience warm and engaged. And so, for example, if you've got a holiday let, just showing up and saying, here's what the garden looks like this time of year. We've been doing a little bit of planting. Like, do you think we should have daffodils, or do you think we should have, probably not the right time of year, but, do you think we should plant roses here? Maybe just I've had a client who has a holiday let, and one of her best performing pieces of content was, when you stay in a holiday cottage, do you like to have an iron in your holiday cottage? She got tons of engagement. So just showing up on your page or on Instagram and just creating content where you're engaging people. Now that takes some practice. Like my background's journalism, so I've been creating content that's designed to engage people for years and years. So don't expect you're just going to turn up and suddenly you're going to be creating all this amazing content. It takes a little bit of practice. It takes a bit of studying other people. So look at some of your competitors who've got a good engagement on their Facebook pages or Instagram, wherever you decide you're going to grow. And that usually is the first bit, is just thinking, well, what kind of content, what does my audience need from me right now? What do they need to hear from me? What kind of content could I put out there that would engage them? So, it could be a video of you just talking honestly about what's happened in your business, and talking about, if, for example, your business has been interrupted by what's going on and you can't deliver what you previously were able to deliver, just having a video of you talking about that, or just posting about that and asking other people how they've been affected. But the first piece is always trying to work out how to engage your audience on social media. And then once you've worked out how to do that, which does take some experimentation and some practice and some falling on your face and getting things wrong, then you can start to think about this email list, and you can start to think about, well, what could I create or what could I offer to get people onto my email list? And we call that creating an email lead magnet. But that is quite an advanced strategy. I think for the moment, if you're just looking to build your audience and keep in touch with them and try and make some sales in the next 90 days, I would just be on social media trying to figure out, I sell a lot of stuff in my direct messages on Instagram, just by posting engaging content and asking questions and getting conversations going. I make quite a lot of sales. So I would be looking at what's the easiest win for you. The easiest win for you probably is to get onto social media, work out what kind of content is going to be engaging. And then once you've got into the flow of that, that's going to be the point when you start to build an email list. I've found it not easy, but I've got 15,000 people on my email list. So, and that's been work that's been done over quite a few years. So what I would say is, be kind to yourself about this, and don't expect this is all going to happen for you overnight. But if you keep putting this off, I think the signs are we're probably going to be in and out of lockdown. It could be for the rest of the year. So you could choose to say, oh, well, I'll wait and see what happens. If you were to work on this consistently every day and just do a bit every day, if we're still in this situation on October, November time, you're going to be in a lot stronger position than somebody who just said, oh, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. So does that kind of make sense?
It totally does. And as I said before, I think in a way we can use this situation maybe as a bit of a kick up the backside for some of us who have been procrastinating, for too long. And now is the time to actually implement some of these strategies to actually move over some of our business, or even all of our business, to online, and to actually create some online programs, which I think is going to be really important. We've got Claire Brown here who says, hi, Ian and Janet. It's great to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Let us know where you're from, and if you've got any questions for Janet on this subject. You were on the show before, of course, Janet, and you talked all about content strategy, and we're talking about your media diary, which has been so helpful to me, and I know for many people. And I think actually having a plan is going to be really, really important, and being consistent. So if you want to listen to that, if you want to watch that episode, all you need to do is go to iag.me/30. In fact, I've just realized I put the wrong link in the comments, which is really annoying. I forgot to put a slash in. I need my assistant here to do it all for me, so I'm not multitasking, but it's one of those things. Yeah, so I think, be kind to yourself is really good advice. You can't do all of these things. We're going to talk about a lot of the things that Janet's been talking about in future episodes. I'm really excited. I've got Amanda Robinson coming on to talk about Facebook bots, or just messenger bots in general. So if you're interested in that should be in next week. I'm not sure exact date yet, but that's going to be exciting. If you've got any ideas of anything else that we can talk about on this show, let me know. So my audience for this podcast and live show tends to be more established entrepreneurs. So they've got a list, they've got an online audience, but they've probably not been that consistent, and so they have been posting, but they've not had so much of a plan necessarily. They've tried certain things. What would you say for the more established entrepreneur? Is it pretty much more of the same thing, or is the if you've got an audience, if you've got say 3,000 or 4,000 on your list or a bit more, but maybe you've not been consistent with that, what would you say to people in those positions, businesses in those positions right now?
So I think you've just hit the nail on the head about consistency. So I'm about to publish my 400th podcast episode this week. I'm nothing else if not consistent. But funny enough, I did a live show with Robin Kennedy, email marketing expert, yesterday on my page on this, about what to do, for example, if you have an email list or even social media followers that you haven't been keeping in touch with consistently. And I think the first thing is not to try and brush over it and not to send them an email. It's a bit like, if you've got a friend that you haven't texted for ages and you're feeling really bad, and the longer goes on, like the worse it gets and it gets harder to do. I always think it's better to put the elephant in the room and just say, look, actually, do you know what? I know I haven't been as consistent as I could have been, but I've got some useful stuff. Reconnect with your audience and give them some values. That would be the very first thing that I would do, is put the elephant in the room. Say I haven't been a great friend. That's what we were talking about yesterday. I haven't been a great friend. I haven't been sharing as much information with you as I could do. I've been a little bit inconsistent, but this whole thing has made me realize that I need to be. So I've put together this, here's a really useful podcast, or here's a useful piece of content that you might find, and sort of reconnect and try and get that conversation going again. But don't try and just brush over it. And if you haven't emailed your list for weeks and weeks, and then just suddenly, because they will bristle, especially if you try and sell to them, they will bristle. So I always think it's best to be honest. Yeah. And also, like you said, to kick up the bum I know lots of established business owners who they have a bit of an audience, but it's not of the size that they need to make the sales that they need, because their audience building has been inconsistent. Funny enough, my 400th podcast episode, which comes out on Friday, is about this very topic. It's about how do you build an audience, in particular for a vlog, or for a YouTube, cool. Something like that. And I went through kind of some key things. Obviously, consistency was top of the list. Collaboration. Like, one of the quickest ways to build your audience is to collaborate with other people. So like what we're doing now, we're going to do this tomorrow, aren't we? We're going to do a Facebook Live where we broadcast from my page and your page, and we're going to share our resources and share our audiences. So now could be a time to really kind of reach out to people and find out ways that you can collaborate. For example, that Facebook Live that I did the other day was in a group of 4,000 hospitality business owners. It's quite a big audience. So collaboration can be quite a good way to kind of move things on. There's loads of other things that I could share, but it's the quality of the content as well. So people will often say to me, well, if I just show up, or I just schedule some stuff, everything will be fine. Well, no, it won't actually. It needs you behind it, driving it, and you need to be more visible. People need to see you, and they need to connect with you. So I would be sort of saying, come out from behind wherever you've been hiding. It's time for you to come out and be much more visible. I've certainly, particularly over the last few weeks, I was saying before, but I'm quite tired really, because I've been a lot more visible than I usually am. And I'm normally quite visible anyway, because audience building is my thing. But for me, it feels like the time I need to be even more visible, because it's funny, because some of my clients have been saying to me about how there's certain business owners that they work with who they've been disappointed by, because they haven't reached out to them. They haven't asked them if they're okay. They haven't tried to offer any extra help. And I think people will remember. So I think it's better to kind of put the elephant in the room and say, okay, I haven't been a great friend. I haven't been in touch, but, I'm going to do this for you, and make your promises and stick to those promises and try to be more consistent. I think that's the heart of content creation: high quality, consistent, often making a public, when you say publicly, like I do, I have a podcast comes out every Friday. There are times when I don't want to do it. I have to admit, even over the last few weeks, actually, where there's been so much going on, and I've been down, stuck at home, I have not wanted to publish my podcast over the last few weeks. I haven't wanted to record it. I'm fine once I get into it, but I've procrastinated about it. Yeah. But when you've made that public commitment and you've said it comes out on Friday, you have to do it. And I think it's being publicly accountable to your audience, telling them what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and sticking to it.
Oh, that's so much really helpful information there, Jenna. And I love what you said about collaboration. Actually, particularly at the moment, collaboration is a great way for us to be more connected. But, don't suffer in silence. There'll be other businesses out there that you can collaborate with. And if you're struggling with doing a live video, why not just go on with somebody else like we're doing today? It's a lot easier in many ways just to go live with somebody else, because then it's just a conversation. And thanks also, Janet, for being honest about your struggles, because I know that it's a big struggle for a lot of people, particularly at the moment. I've actually really enjoyed doing the live shows and the podcast. I haven't had an issue with that through this time. In fact, I've actually done a lot more, because I've really wanted to give back to my community and talk about issues that I know people are struggling with. But I tell you, the areas that I've really struggled with are just basic social media. So I've actually found it really hard to go on Instagram and Twitter and all these other networks, because it's just, for me at the moment, there's just so much going on, with the kids, in the house but I know that actually I need to be there for my audience. And in a way, you could argue that if if we're shying away from our audience, we're actually being selfish. We're not helping them. We're not being a good friend, which is kind of what you said. I really like that. But that makes me also reminds me that, you know, of your earlier point, you can't do everything. And I think, you know, you've had many, many years of building up your consistency. You didn't do everything right from the start, you know, but you probably focused mainly on the podcast. I mean, you're on 400 and whatever episodes now. So I don't know what you think about this. I'll be interested in your view, but I think you need to build consistency one layer at a time. So for me, the thing that I absolutely will not stop doing is the podcast. It's every single week, no matter what. The podcast comes out on Friday, and that's really important. And also with a live show as well. I'm trying to build in the consistency in all the other channels, and certainly your media guide, what's it called, the media diary, has been really helpful in that, because it's down to planning. You know, you've got to plan these things. But I think actually being real, share with your audience that, it's been tough, but you're aiming to get back and ask them how you can help them, which is cool.
Yeah, totally. And I think being honest about your struggles as well. Anytime I've shared anything about I'm struggling being stuck at home, like, you know, there's no, I don't try and hide that. I find that quite hard, and I'm finding it all quite hard. But whenever I've shared that, I found that it helps you connect. It makes you more human and more real, and I think people appreciate that.
It's the power of empathy. I mean, I don't think you shouldn't fake it. Obviously, I think it's about being real. But yeah, if you're a normal human being and you're not a psychopath, then go do that. Be real. Oh, Melissa's here. Melissa Nowell's in the room. Hi, she says hi. Great to see you, Melissa. Hope you're doing well and you're keeping safe. Well, it's time to bring in my next sponsor, and I'm hoping that the tech is going to work this time. Let's see. It is. Yes, it is. Although my head's been cut off. Let's just move me up. There's always something.
I can see you.
You can see me. There we go. That's good. So Content 10X is. I'm so glad, and I'm so honored to have Amy and Content 10X sponsoring this podcast and show. And they've been doing that really since the beginning. They're experts in content repurposing, and they provide a full end-to-end content repurposing service. So they'll take your one piece of content and repurpose it to explode across the interwebs. And one of the best ways of doing this, of course, is with live video. You plan your live video, of course, but it's so easy. It's so much easier in a way to go live than do a pre-recorded video, because it doesn't have to be perfect. It just forces you to do that. So once you press that end broadcast button, Content 10X will then take that and repurpose it into lots of different types of content, whether that's blog posts, podcast episodes, videos, social media images, infographics, you name it. And this will allow you to reach new audiences, and it also saves you time so that you can focus on building your business. So if you want to find out how to do it yourself, you can. All you need to do is go to their blog. It's content10x.com. They've also got a podcast and a book as well. Amy's written a book, which is really awesome. And they've now got a toolkit, which I'm going to actually bring on Amy fairly shortly. I'm hopefully going to bring her on this week and to talk about this. But if you go to content10x.com/toolkit, this is basically lots of training on how you can become a content repurposing pro, which is awesome. So, yeah, just go to content10x.com. And I thank you, Amy, and the team for sponsoring the show. It's been absolutely great. Awesome. Right. So when it comes to live video, what do you feel at the moment businesses should be doing with live video, particularly at the moment where we're all stuck at home and we're all in this lockdown? I mean, is there anything different that we should be doing now? And do you think you should be learning for anything different for the future when it comes to live video?
I'm seeing a lot more people go live, and it's been amazing with my clients. Actually, I've had clients who've procrastinated for years about going live, and this has forced them just to do it. And it's absolutely brilliant. They've just gone live, and I've got one lady who actually hadn't procrastinated that much, but it's made her do it more. So a lady called Julie is a florist, and she goes live every morning. And every time I wake up in the morning, I see her live in my feed, and it makes me so happy that she's doing that every morning and she's supporting her audience. I don't think there's anything in particular different. I mean, I'm noticing that live video, and I think this has always been the case, but your audience will grow faster when you're joining when you're going live on your page. So I would say more live video, not only because it generally helps you to grow your audience faster, and it's so shareable as well. So if you jump on a video and you're sharing some value, so I've done, because it's my 400th podcast episode this month. I don't know if I mentioned it like 6 times already.
You might have done.
I'm doing a live every day with one of my previous podcast guests, which is one. And the thing is to remember to get people to share. So, if you're finding this useful, share. And actually, like one of my clients, Rhiannon, who has the Epsom Bakehouse, she teaches people to bake and to bake bread. She's added about 1,500 followers on her Facebook page just by going live. She's been doing these bake-alongs on Saturday morning, and she has got a little bit of experience. She's quite a good content creator, but that's an incredible growth just by going live and saying to people, reminding them to share and creating just really good quality content. And she's not using all high-tech kit or anything. She's just going live. And the thing that I think has been challenging for some of my clients, and this is just down to practice, is so I've got like clients who are like yoga instructors and Pilates and baking and things like that. Just where do I position myself? Where do I frame myself? Whatever. I had somebody saying the other day, I've got bad internet connection at home, so I can only use my phone. But for that stuff, for me, it's all figure outable. It's just about practice, isn't it? It's just about doing practice. I know you always say about this. Like me, when we went live the other day, I was just like, go live anyway. I'm not one that worries too much about practicing, but you can do private broadcasts, can't you, where you practice with a friend or someone in your family. I mean, let's face it, we've got nothing else to do, where you just practice the framing, and you just practice, getting a nice, just a nice background. Or just you're making sure that people can see you if you're demonstrating something or whatever. But that's the only thing really, it's just to do it, just to go live. And if you're delivering something that you haven't done before, where maybe you think, oh, will people be able to see what I'm doing? Or if I need to demonstrate, it's just about practice, isn't it? I mean, I can't see that there's anything different that you would do otherwise.
No, I don't think so. Well, I think it is that, going back to that being a kick at the bum or kick up the ass if we're from America. And it's just to really just do it. And yes, I do believe in practicing. I mean, obviously the difference with you the other day when we just kind of went live and it didn't go all according to plan on LinkedIn is because you've done loads of lives before. So I think for people who haven't done live videos before, it is good to practice, because one thing I think is important, and this is not, I don't want to give anyone an excuse not to go live. So this is, I'm not trying to scare people, but it's a really good idea to practice, because the first few videos that you do are likely not to be that great. In terms of like your delivery, you're probably going to be a little bit scared. You're going to probably stumble over your words, which is absolutely fine. You'll plan it, I hope, but the planning might not all go according to plan. And of course, the tech is probably not going to work. It's going to be sometimes that, the things will go badly, or they might not. You just don't know, and you've got to just try that. But the other thing I think that people need to think about doing is creating really valuable content. Yes, absolutely. But creating content that stands out. And that's what you're doing this week. You're going live every week. You're bringing people on. One thing that I'm doing for my first year anniversary of the show is, and I actually haven't announced this yet, so this is the first time I've talked about it, is I'm going to do a long show. I haven't quite figured out whether it's going to be 3 or 4 hours. I don't know how I'll cope with going live for that length of time, but I'm going to try and invite all my previous guests onto the show and just have a kind of more of a talk show. So, and that's a bit different. I know other people do that, but just do something a bit different that stands out, and be yourself. Be real. You don't have to have the mega tech out there, which is definitely important. So when it comes to, so I suppose we're kind of running out of time. So I suppose just to end with, can you share any tips on going back to the audience side of things? Have you got any final tips on how we can grow our audience quickly or more quickly? I know this is probably a question you get asked a lot. I've got no audience. I've got no one on my list. How do I get to 10,000 in the next week? Which is probably not going to happen, but let's be realistic about it. How can we grow our audience the right way at the moment if we've not got anyone, but also if we've maybe got a reasonable list, but we want to grow it?
I think you're right about being realistic in your expectations. A lot of people do expect that you're going to grow by 10,000 in the next few weeks, and that's just not going to happen. But any progress is good progress. I think it all comes down to what is it that you want to achieve. Like, not everybody needs the same size audience. Like, some of my clients only need a small audience. It's like, well, how many sales do you need to make? So it's building the audience for the size that you need. But if you want to sell online courses or webinars or things like that, one to many, the average online conversion rate is just 1 to 2%. So it gives you an idea of what kind of numbers that you need. I think we've covered it pretty much already, but pick a platform. So first of all, it's that question of, well, where are your ideal people hanging out? And pick a platform, pick one thing that you're going to do. So it could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be LinkedIn, and just show up there like every day. In fact, now I'm quite an experienced content creator, an audience builder. I've grown my Instagram from 6,500 to almost 15,000 since it was like October, November time last year, which is incredible growth. But let me just share with you, I have posted up to 4 times a day on my account. I've done a weekly IGTV. I've done daily stories. And this is not easy, even if you've been doing it for a while. But what will win every time is high quality content. Before I started building my Instagram audience, I just spent ages just looking at other people's content and just looking at my competitors and saying, okay, well, what are they producing? What kind of content are they producing that's getting loads of engagement? And what can I learn from that? And how could I replicate that? And then I spent 30 days figuring out what worked. So trying different things out. That works, that doesn't work, whatever. Until I kind of hit upon a formula that would work. And then it's just more of what's working. So 4 times a day on Instagram, that's not, and I'm quite a busy person, but that should give you an idea. So I'd love to say there are quick wins. Facebook groups can quite work well. If you can get the right audience and you understand the audience that you're trying to build, you can actually build quite an engaged audience quite quickly in a Facebook group, but you've got to get the audience right and you've got to know who you want. And the other thing people often forget is that when you first start building an audience, or you're early on, there's this whole thing about, well, how do you get people to comment? So it's all, the way the algorithm works is that the more people like, comment and share on your content, the more people will see it, because Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform it is, will say, oh, this content's getting a lot of attention, so we're going to show it to more people. But you've got this chicken and egg situation. Now, I still, to this day, even though I've got a really good following and really good engagement, if I see a post that isn't getting very much engagement, I will go and get members of my team to comment on it, just to nudge the algorithm, or to do something that will nudge the algorithm. And I think people have this idea that you can just show up online and you can just post something and people just magically come. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. And the analogy I often give is, it's like if you were putting on an event, it was your first event and you had 100 seats to sell, and you got a week away from the event and you'd only managed to sell 8 seats. Well, what would you do? You wouldn't go and take an ad out. Well, that probably would be a good thing to do. You'd reach out to people personally, and even if it meant that you had to, let some of your friends come for free, or some of your family or whatever, you'd just get bums on those seats, and you just do whatever you could. So I always say you have to be quite scrappy, and you have to actually. The other thing that comes up a lot is when you're first starting out. Get your friend to comment, get your mum to comment, ideally if you can find people who are your ideal audience, brilliant, then get them to comment. But sometimes you actually have to go out and ask for the engagement. So you say to your friend, do me a favor and go and comment on my post, and I'll go and comment on yours. Or some people set up pods. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, but that's not a good idea, because then you grow the wrong kind of audience. Well, beggars can't be choosers, can they? You've got no engagement. And what are you going to do about it? As long as you're aware that if you are getting your mum and your auntie and your cousin to comment to start off with, just to make it look busy and engaged and to kick the algorithm, as long as you're aware that ultimately you do need to be building an audience that's the right fit for you. But I see a lot of people who've got no audience and they get really snobby about this. And they're like, oh no, I couldn't possibly do that. Well, what else are you going to do? And, the scenario you've got when you've got a small audience or no audience is it's a bit like being, when a teacher asks a question in a classroom and no one wants to be the first to put their hand up. That's what your content's like. So actually, you have to be quite hands-on to start off with. And sometimes you have to go and say to people, please go and comment on that, or please go and share on that. And if you do that for me, I'll do that for you. And I don't think people realise how much of that goes on. I'm an established content creator, and I still, if I've got a post that's just not taken off in the way that I think it will, I will go and ask my team to comment on it. And you see the results straight away. You can see that immediately that kicks the algorithm. So I think it's being prepared to be quite scrappy, quite hands-on. Social media is not this magic thing. And also, my last point, I'm getting all on my high horse now, but would be where people go wrong with content about their business is that they imagine it has to be businessy. And if you just think about like your last 3 posts on Facebook that have got lots of comments from your friends, because ultimately, social media is social media. It's friends and family. It's about chatting and having conversations. So if I think about my recent posts on Facebook, one of them was about how, as a runner, I was fed up with having to run in the middle of the road because people wouldn't get off the pavement. Loads of comments on that. One of them was about today I was supposed to have flown to Dublin today with my daughter to do an World Irish Dance Championships, and we're not here. So I just posted a picture and just said, how do you, what are you disappointed about missing out on? And there was that post I did recently, which you commented on, which was about how I was finding it hard in lockdown because I hadn't realised I was such a social person. All of those very personal posts I use my personal Facebook as a sort of training ground. So I will post something, and what gets engagement there, I'm trying to replicate that on my business. I'm not trying to be all corporate and stuffy or whatever. I'm trying to think, what is it about that post about running that got people? So that's another tip as well. When you're thinking of content, you're trying to build an audience, the corporate guff has to go, and always, you have to be a real person. And if you can think more with your content strategy about, well, what gets engagement when I post on my personal Facebook wall, on my personal stuff, and try and replicate or bring that into your business stuff, your audience will grow a lot quicker, because people will genuinely be interested in what you're saying. But, if you're just going to post about your business, corporate guff, people are just going to scroll on by. Anyway, I'm off my high horse now. I hope that answered your question.
It certainly does. I have to apologize to my LinkedIn audience. It's very remiss of me because, of course, at the moment, you can't see your LinkedIn comments through extra software. You have to look directly. So I'm sorry, Vineet, who is watching from India. I'd love to let us know how you're getting on over in India. I was thinking about you guys just the other day. I hope things are okay. I hope you're keeping safe. Martin Buckland is saying, I'm very lucky my business is recession proof. I'd love to know, Martin, what how is it? How did you prepare for this? How is your business being affected? It sounds like it isn't in a negative way, which is great. And it's interesting what you were saying about getting people in your team or just friends and family to actually comment on your posts. And thank you for being honest, because I think actually a lot of people do that, and they may be feeling a little bit sheepish about admitting it. But do you know what? This has been going on for centuries. You go back to, like, restaurants have been doing this. They've been getting people to sit on the, almost like sometimes they'll pay people to sit at the front of the restaurant, but to make it look more full. Because of course, if you walk down the street and you see 2 restaurants, they look identical. One's really busy, one's not at all. There's hardly anyone in it. Which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose the busier one, because there must be something wrong with the other one. And also theatres and opera theatres, what's it called? Opera houses. Opera houses, that's the one. They've been paying people to get bums on seats and even doing encore, bravo at the end, because just to get more of a, just to get more people involved. And that really makes a big difference. So don't be shy about doing that. Obviously, over time, you want to make sure that you are growing your audience the right way. But at the beginning, and certainly if you're having I've found that if I've had a live show that for some reason just hasn't got off the ground in terms of the numbers, and sometimes that can depend on the time of day that you're doing it. There might be something else happening in the world, that kind of thing. Well, thank you so much, Janet. I just also wanted to mention, if you're wanting to embrace live and to start live video, or maybe you've done a bit of live video, I'm going to be launching my Confident Live Marketing Academy in 2 or 3 weeks' time. I've yet to have the exact date, and I know that's probably bad, Janet, that I haven't got the exact date. I should have planned that months ago, but it's going to be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. If you just go to iag.me/academy, you can register. You can basically register for me to tell you some more information, register your interest, which would be cool. So I know that, Janet, you've got some resources that can help us as well. What have you got for us?
So I've got a link which I gave to you earlier, which I hope you still got, but if not, I'll try and dig it out. Which sends you to there we go, fantastic, send you to my messenger, my very clever messenger bot on my Facebook page. And it will deliver you, I've got a couple of really relevant podcast episodes. I've got one about taking your business offline to online. And then I've got one which is about what kind of content should we be creating now. So what we've been talking about, when you feel a bit awkward, when you're worried about being insensitive. So they're really 2 quite useful podcast episodes that I've got coming out. If you follow that link, my clever messenger bot will deliver those podcast episodes to you because it's so clever, and it will deliver them to you, and you'll be able to have a listen and just let me know what you think.
You're very excited about this bot. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. So obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, I'll give you the link. It is janetm.uk/IAG. That's janetm.uk/IAG. And of course, this will be in the show notes at, what is it? It'll be at iag.me/52. And of course, you've got a podcast as well. What is you want to tell everyone your podcast? And you were mentioning that your latest episode, which comes out on Friday. So this will actually come out before this podcast episode comes out. But anyway, if people go to janetmurray.co.uk, is that the best place to go?
Yes. So if you go to my website, janetmurray.co.uk, it's called The Janet Murray Show. And I don't know if I mentioned, but yeah, this Friday is my 400th episode.
I don't think you did.
If you're looking, if you're looking for any aspect, building your online audience, social media engagement, what kind of content should I create? I do interviews with people on quite specific platforms. So what should you be doing on Instagram, LinkedIn? I've done interviews with Ian on live video. So anything to do with building your audience, creating content, getting more engagement, it's the show to listen to.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm a big fan of the show, and definitely check that out. Well, thanks, Janet. It's been great to have you back on the show. This is definitely a subject that is really important right now, and I know that it's going to be really helpful to people listening and watching. So thank you so much. But it is time to end it there. I'm going to go out on a nice walk while it's still sunny. You got anything planned for the rest of the day?
I'm going to go for a walk as well. I was going to go for a run, but I'm also doing an exercise class tonight, so I think I might have a run.
You don't want to.
Yeah, before that.
You don't want to push yourself too much, but well, thanks, Janet. Well, until next time, I encourage you to level up your impact, authority, and profits using the power of Confident Live Video. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Confident Live Marketing Podcast with Ian Anderson Gray. Be sure to join the community at iag.me, where you can continue to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of live video. And until next time, toodaloo.